insane? Those guns will rip you apart.
So now you get the picture. They took my nanosuit, Prophet. I'm human.
Human? You know how much I've sacrificed to stop the Ceph. How do I get that back? Crap.
Truth be told, there are themes and moments from this game that I really liked and wish it delved into more, but for the majority of the time I didn't feel much of anything going forward. It's not that the game isn't fun to play, it absolutely can be, and I had to sit for a while to try and pin down why it didn't click with me for so long. But we have a plot to cover, so I'll see you later on in the video to talk about it. Let's get started. If you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a comment telling me your experience with the game. We begin our journey with Prophet II telling us it's been 23 years since the events of the last game, and Cell, despite being disavowed by the US government and targeted for capture and disarmament, somehow took advantage of the situation after the battle in Central Park and now controls everything. Okay, Prophet Jr. informs us that there's something called an Alpha Ceph sending him ominous visions and bad vibes, and we see Prophet floating in orbit over Earth looking significantly worse for wear while space tentacles surge towards the planet. We cut to helicopters approaching a mysterious domed structure during a heavy downpour, where they deliver the intricately caged Prophet. He doesn't get further from the docks, however, as he's sprung from alien baby jail by Psycho and two guys from his Warhead DLC in the first game. Prophet asks why he doesn't have a suit.
Why are you
suitless?
Oh my god, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're
Suitless.
And we learn that Cell skinned him and all other nanosuit users, which will be a consistent story thread going forward regarding transhumanism, self-worth, and working within your limitations. We start to move through the area and get some dialogue explaining when and how and why Prophet ended up in jail. Cell apparently shot him with K-volts while he was in Siberia, because once again some very important story beats were told outside the game, where most people are going to engage with it. Halfway through our escape, Psycho stops to search through a computer with his face on it, trying to find the doctor who skinned him out of his suit, and displaying an understandable level of hatred for the individual in question. It's clearly left a mark on him, and he mentions that many of the soldiers' skin didn't survive the process. Their hearts would give out as the surgery was done while they were conscious and caused immeasurable agony. Unfortunately, Psycho can't get a clear shot of the person who did this to him, and we don't have time for him to kick off his revenge arc just yet, so we move on. Right before we escape, it's explained that most of the people we just spent the last hour or so mowing down like so much grass are debt slaves of Cell. Cell controls all energy now. They were able to create unlimited energy and started giving it out for free until they had a monopoly, then began charging eye-watering amounts of money to the point that people couldn't pay bills. Cell then offered a place in their debt forgiveness program to those people, which they would never escape, and this was done by marching those people out to volunteer camps. This means a majority of people working for Cell as soldiers, laborers, doctors, or whatever else are only doing so because of crushing financial debt Cell put them in, knowing good goddamn well what would happen eventually if they charged too much. The thing is, it's unclear how the games want you to feel about this because it comes up again later when a character is revealed to have done something super fucked up while working off their debts with Cell, with the explicit message that everyone has a choice and you should just fight the all-powerful megacorporation that has everyone's tits in a vice. I don't disagree that you should fight the all-powerful megacorporation that has everyone's tits in a vice, but I do take issue with this glossing over of any sympathy to be had for the people stuck in that situation. At what point does a victim of the system become complicit in it? Is it fair to expect the average person to put themselves, their friends, their family at risk to push against a system designed to crush them? How do you galvanize people and give them the courage to stand up? These are complex issues, so it's much easier to just brush it aside as good guy versus bad guys. Anyway, here's your new playground.
Welcome to New York. Version 2.0.
What have they done?
Prophet notices that the ruins have an energy signature, which Psycho explains is System X, a single piece of Ceph technology hidden within the dome that powers Cell's global power grid. The vice on our tits, as it were. Taking out System X will destroy Cell, but Prophet disregards this simple assessment and insists that it has something to do with the Alpha Ceph and his visions. It's clear Psycho has no patience for this, showing contempt for Prophet abandoning the rest of them to hunt some super alien that didn't even exist, and is only appeased by the fact that Prophet agrees System X needs to be dealt with, just not for the same reasons. No one believing Prophet about the Alpha, or otherwise just humoring his talk of visions, will be a recurring theme, and he will be proven correct on all of it. We hear communication between Psycho and the regional commander of the rebels, Claire Fontanelli, instructing him on the path forward and to bring that hardware home, referring to Prophet. It's all but explicitly stated that they are in a relationship, something she did not want him telling any living soul about, but Prophet is two personalities in an alien trenchcoat, so technically didn't break any rules. Anyways, Psycho hurts his knee trying to kick in a rusted gate, and we make it up to a ledge overlooking open grounds. We can't proceed because Cell has murder towers set up all over the place that constantly scan their surroundings for things to murder with rockets. Prophet ignorantly asserts that they can just cut right through the rate of fire, no need to go around, and Psycho responds by pretending to try and get the tower's attention. Alarmed, Prophet pulls him back down, and Psycho angrily reminds him that he doesn't have a suit anymore. He's human, with the heavy subtext that Prophet isn't. Prophet retorts that Psycho knows how much he's sacrificed to fight the Ceph, asking him how he gets any of that back. This argument and the evolving dynamic between them is one of the few things I did really like about the game, with this amalgamation of what used to be Lawrence Barnes desperately trying to hold on to whatever sense of identity he can, despite how obviously inhuman he is. And Michael Sykes obviously still struggles with the loss of his suit and the complex PTSD that the experience of that loss left him with. Sykes feels like he's only half the man he used to be, frail, slow, and weak compared to his glory days wearing the nanosuit. Barnes wishes he still knew what that mortality felt like. They cool down and split up, with Psycho playing Spotter and Prophet playing Walking Bullseye. We deal with the murder tower by picking up a Ceph weapon and interfacing with it, something Psycho did not expect and is kind of weirded out by. It's clear there's going to be some degree of distrust around Prophet's state of being once we link up with Psycho's rebel buddies, and he tells Prophet to,
with the greatest possible respect, zip your howling screamer.
About his visions. We watch some Cell soldiers get ripped apart by stalkers, stealth-focused Ceph units who like hiding in tall grass, and after fighting through an obscene amount of bullshit and riding a train tanker full of fuel like a battering ram, we finally meet the rebels while they're in the middle of getting their asses kicked, shown to us through Claire trying to coordinate different squads right before their network is brought down. Despite the dire circumstances, she greets Michael with a hug, and then proceeds to get freaked the fuck out by the presence of Prophet, pointing out all the modifications, Ceph integration, and calling into question Prophet's humanity, referring to him as a mutation, in a tone of voice that would make Magneto's eye twitch. Her refutation of his presence is interrupted by Karl Ernst Rasch, one of the two men responsible for creating the nanosuits. He argues in our favor because they're not making any progress against Cell, they can't kill it with bug bites, they need an ace, and that's us. He then gets way too close to inspect Prophet, and while the suit was able to scan and make a personality assessment of Psycho, it can't with Rasch. I'm sure it's nothing. We head back out, and Michael thanks us for not saying anything about his relationship with Claire, even though he openly called her sweetheart and got a relieved hug from her in front of everyone else who was in the room. It's not like they were in private, so do the rest of the rebels just politely pretend to be blind and deaf? Whatever. Before we can deal with System X, we need to destroy the hydroelectric dam that Cell uses to power their murder towers, so the rebels can move without getting obliterated. It's mentioned in passing that Claire freaked out about Prophet because she hates the nanosuits for some undefined reason, but Psycho never pressed her about it because she's the one who saved him from the skinning lab. We're separated from Psycho because of an elevator incident, and Claire follows our progress as we deal with the dam, and by deal with it I mean instead of just shutting it down, Prophet relies on his 1,000 hours of experience playing Demo Man and destroys it, washing himself and many of Cell's debt slaves downstream. Claire is displeased, once again referring to us as hardware, and Prophet argues to be called by his name. Understandably, he does not appreciate being treated like a thing. Making our way downtown to the System X facility, we make our way in, skewer everyone in sight, and head down, receiving some spicy deja vu of the Alpha Ceph while we're in the process of shutting the place down. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about, except it absolutely fucking is, because as soon as it's down, it's revealed that System X itself is the Alpha Ceph. It proceeds to fire a beam of light into the sky to start calling in Big Daddy Ceph all the way over from the M33 galaxy to come beat us up. Prophet figures because the Alpha got into his head, he can pull an Uno reverse card and destroy the Ceph hive mind from within. So he goes with Psycho to the skinning lab where he can use a soup cradle. Claire warns Psycho to be careful because there are some things you can't forgive. Did you expect her to say, forget? Well, after fighting through newly awakened Ceph soldiers, flamethrower units, and avoiding an inexplicably still alive murder tower after Claire said they were offline, we arrive at the skinning lab. Being here clearly put Psycho under stress. Cell had him here for months, putting him through absolute agony. And upon entering a room where a nanosuit user lays dead and butchered on a table, he can't hold it in anymore.
Murdering cell bastards. I'm gonna make you fucking pay! You bastards! Where the fuck are you?
Psycho?
If I could find the cell bastard who did this, I'd fucking kill him.
Unfortunately for Michael, on our way in, we find pieces of intel revealing to the player that Claire worked here before she became a rebel, and you know exactly where this is going. We reach the suit cradle unimpeded and Michael gets it running, showing his familiarity with the systems hasn't faded at all despite losing his suit years ago. Prophet climbs into the cradle and they remove the safety measures that keep him from fully integrating with the Ceph hive mind, ensuring the nanites can function to their fullest capabilities. All the while, echoes of Rasha's voice flicker through his mind, warning him that without the dopamine blockers, exposure to the hive mind will consume him. As we're released from the cradle, Michael notices something on the computer. Claire tries to warn him, tells him not to investigate, but he doesn't listen, and proceeds to find a recording of his operations, with Claire overseeing it.
Sergeant Michael Sykes is still functioning at near optimal levels, but accelerated degradation is to be expected.
You did this to me.
Michael, please listen to me. You are the reason why. I mean, I fight Cell because of you. Because...
Is that why you cared? Or were you pretending to care because of this? Because of your own fucking guilt?
I didn't have a choice, Michael! The Cell program, we were in debt, you know how this works. I was forced to do this. To all of those people. I had to listen to their screams day after day after day. I know what I did. Jesus, believe me, I know. And I'll have to carry that with me as long as I live. Every day of my life. Michael!
And feeling bad about it makes it all right, does it? If you're so fucking sorry, Claire, how come I had to find out like this? Why didn't you just come clean, you lying fuck?
Listen to me. You know how it works. You know she didn't have a choice. She did what she had to do.
No choice. Just doing what she's told. Just following orders. Who the fuck does that sound like, Prophet? I'll tell you one thing, though. She was right about you. You might as well be a fucking machine because you sure as hell ain't no human being anymore. I mean, you never were much good at it to begin with, but Jesus Christ, look at you now! Whose face are you wearing under that helmet these days, Prophet? Do you even have a face anymore?
We all had to make sacrifices.
You had a choice, mate. Everyone has a choice.
Look, I told you everything you needed to know.
Remember these? All the men who died under your command because you were just following orders. Because you had no choice. Just like her.
Psycho.
No, mate. You take that suit of yours, and you go fight your own battles. Like all
character drama and transhumanism is the strongest aspect of the story, which we will talk about later in the video, but for right now, there are more levels to slog through. Because of our meddling, Cell has activated a failsafe called Red Star Rising, which is an orbital fuck you delivered by their satellite Archangel. Under normal circumstances, it regulated their wireless power grid. But now that there's a high chance of Stage 3 Ceph colonization happening, they're willing to risk completely obliterating the planet to stop it, because discharging that much power into a singular blast could very well punch a hole in the tectonic plates. Not that I could take this announcement too seriously, because Claire's delivery reminded me of something.
Oh god. They're gonna obliterate New York. Total, orbital annihilation.
Ensuring complete global masturbation. Not again.
Anyway, the point is that they're going to obliterate New York with a hyperbeam attack, and it absolutely should not be super effective, because wasn't the problem in the first game that the Ceph absorb energy? They were hit with a nuke, and it only made them stronger. And this would be different. Why? Because Cell is run by idiots. Moving on. Prophet links up with the Ceph mind carrier and briefly embraces his true potential as an alpha, lording over the betas until they remember that he's not actually a squid and start attacking. Claire tracks down the command post for Archangel and we shift gears to link up with her. On the way there, Psycho shows up again to help out, though he remains terse with Claire, and we finally hear from Rashk, who's been missing in action for a while. He seems a little rattled, but I'm sure it's nothing.
There was also a whole bit where it almost looked like Claire was going to die. Her forces were pinned in a bad spot, and the game even gave her a whole death speech and made us listen to her lose hope in survival, only for it to just not happen. And then Psycho returns.
Fighting our way into the facility, we manage to stop Archangel from getting a fully charged blast off, only for the Alpha to reveal that Rashk has been under his control for a while now, and turning off the satellite is the last thing it needed from us. Through Rashk, the Alpha locks Prophet in place by exploiting his suit, leading to Claire getting zapped through the heart and Psycho shooting Rashk. We escape in a VTOL, but we're overwhelmed by enemy air units, and crash into a ruined building to the sound of Psycho crying out for Claire to stay alive, leading to this scene.
No man could have done more. Forgive me?
Of course I do.
Good. Then it's all right, then. It's all right.
Claire.
It's...
Psycho. Psycho, I'm sorry, but we don't have much time. We need to find another VTOL now. Psycho.
Don't you fucking call me that!
We have to shut that energy beam down, Psycho, or everyone is going to die. Do you understand me?
And what the fuck am I supposed to do about it, eh? I'm Michael Sykes. I'm just a human, Prophet. I couldn't even save one fucking life, not one!
You selfish son of a bitch! Don't you get it yet? Rash had me pinned back there, kept me locked down because of this damn suit. If you'd been wearing a suit, we'd all be dead. You being human is what saved us. We're all human, Psycho. And we all fought. Me, you, Nomad, Jester, all of us. We fought. Not the goddamn nanosuits. Now it's just you and me that's left. We can make a difference. One last mission. Do you think she'd want you to quit now?
Rebel, Vulture 4! We need immediate support! Pilot, we're under massive self-assault! Can't hold out much...
Psycho. Michael. Just so we're clear. This is gonna be a slaughter.
Too fucking right it is. And I'm gonna be doing the slaughtering. Like you said, boss, I don't need a suit. I don't need tech. Just need bottle, right? right?
The voice acting in these scenes is excellent, and I really wish it was in a game I didn't find so frustrating. We begin to enter the final stretch, and the game earns 10 points from me for using the concept of a white hole to describe the process of creating a wormhole. If you've never heard of that before, it is the hypothetical opposite of a black hole. Black holes pull things into a singularity and nothing can escape, not even light, and they will be some of the longest lasting things in the universe. A white hole is a black hole in reverse, with light and matter exploding outward where nothing can enter, and conversely, it would expel all of its contents in a single pulse. Naturally, this is more of a math exercise than a real thing, because trying to observe something in space that blips once and then vanishes forever is like throwing a dart blindfolded after someone spun you around 100 times and hoping you hit the bullseye. If you're interested, I've linked a video from PBS Spacetime going into much more detail about it. It's neat. Moving on. Fighting through a truly obscene amount of bullshit, Prophet absorbs energy powering Ceph anti-air towers so Psycho can take them out in the repaired VTOL, help rebel groups across the battlefield, fights this thing in a boss battle, and reaches the beam just in time for it to open the way to Big Daddy Ceph, destroying the immediate area and burying Prophet under the rubble. He awakens underground and thankfully finds his way into some natural tunnels, returning to the underground structures he discovered between Crysis 1 and 2 that put him on this warpath against the Alpha Ceph to begin with. The Ceph hive mind hounds him all the while, reminding Prophet of all the dehumanizing remarks people have made about him up to now. He absorbs 3 more mind carriers worth of Ceph energy and makes it to a fight with the Alpha, which I did not have to restart several times. How dare you suggest such a thing? After breaking its 3 drill pieces, because it has drill pieces attached to its head, the Alpha pins Prophet down and begins to overwhelm his mind, only for Psycho to distract it with a Hail Mary of an attack and give Prophet the opening to fire an explosive arrow into its brain pan, because for whatever reason it decided to expose its brain pan. While killing the Alpha causes all the surrounding Ceph to die as well, it's too late to escape the pull of the beam. Prophet is tossed around like a piece of debris and grabs onto Psycho's crashed ship to help free him, but it's not enough and he's ripped away. Flung into space, weak and faltering, Prophet can't help but recall all he's sacrificed and how little it seems to have mattered. But he remembers that Prophet isn't all he has left. He might be a ghost in the machine, but that ghost came from a real flesh and blood man who died in service to the world, to all of humanity, and he grasps that memory, and the memory of Barnes' fallen teammates like a drowning man grasps for a rope. He pushes himself towards the Archangel satellite, hacks into its systems, and fires at the Ceph ship arriving from M33, destroying it and the wormhole. Prophet is violently thrown back down to Earth, burning through the night sky, until he crashes into the ocean just off the coast of a familiar-looking island. Sometime later, he wakes up in a house on the beach, to the sound of the radio informing him of Cell's demise and Senator Tara Strickland addressing the international community on the road to recovery.
Time and again, we look to new, miracle technologies to solve all our problems, and paid whatever price was asked of us. And in doing so, we lost sight of who we really are and who we can be. The best version of ourselves. A machine must be a tool to serve humanity, not a cage to trap it. As a people, as a world, we've been given a second chance. Let's never forget what we've learned, for the cost of that knowledge has been very high indeed. None of us know what the future holds, but we will meet it together, with full recognition of all that has been lost, and all that we have found again.
First week of boot camp, they taught us a lesson. A good soldier knows there's only one thing he can rely on when the chips are down. Not his cutting-edge intel, not his state-of-the-art equipment, not his top-of-the-line weapon, just himself. Took me a long time to remember that. For now, the war is over. I made mistakes along the way, but after all, I'm only human. My name is Lawrence Barnes. They called me Prophet.
Okay, so first of all, I loved the evolving dynamic between Psycho and Prophet. Great voice acting, great drama, it felt very grounded and humanizing for both of them. Great writing. I enjoyed the addition of the bow, a dedicated stealth weapon that keeps you cloaked, and I appreciated the fact that sprint no longer drains energy, although they could have just brought back speed mode so that it's a tactical choice instead of allowing you to run away whenever you like, no problem, but it's whatever. The music was good in parts, and the presentation of Prophet's existential struggles were really well done. However, outside Psycho and Prophet, the overall story is frustrating, and I'm going to try and pin down some specifics to make it easier on myself. Cell taking over the world feels completely unnecessary. It comes across as cutting corners so they could just reuse Cell as an enemy to fight, which I don't have a problem with in theory if Cell tried to hold on to power but failed and became a rogue organization. In the latter half of Crysis 2, Cell was being captured and relieved of their weapons by the US military. They were decimated by Alcatraz and fighting the Ceph. They should not have had the resources or leadership to do this. There were too many boots on the ground and eyewitnesses for Cell to get away with claiming they saved New York. People were already protesting and chafing under the martial law imposed by them. They were executing civilians they even suspected to be sick. The government rescinded their authority. No one had any reason to believe them. I don't mind jumping ahead 20 plus years in theory, but that also feels like cutting corners to excuse Cell's domination of the world, so it irritates me as well. The end of Crysis 2 had Rash make contact with Prophet, which made it seem like they were going to start working together against the Ceph, but I guess fucking not. Explaining all of this in a book is not good enough. The game is the main thing people are going to engage with this story through. As I mentioned earlier, it feels off to tell us directly that many, if not most, of the grunts we're taking out by the hundreds our debt slave Cell threw into volunteer camps and assigned jobs to that they'll never actually escape, only to go right back to mowing them down because fuck them, they work for Cell so they're evil. This does not mean that I think everyone should hug and make friendship bracelets, as I know that saying you should give a shit triggers a certain type of person's arsehole response, because being critical of presentation means you were somehow surprised that the shooting game involves shooting people. It doesn't surprise me. It means maybe you should stop for a second and think about what we're doing here. What exactly is the takeaway meant to be by telling the player, hey, the people we're killing were forced into this position, and then do nothing else with that information aside from continue killing them? I'm not giving you an answer here. If you're the kind of person who cares about storytelling, I am asking you to think about it. I'm gonna have a fucking aneurysm. Right, so, the Alpha Ceph existing wasn't mentioned in Crysis 1 or 2, it's only here now because the story needed a convenient way for us to win, which leads to this highly advanced, galaxy-colonizing, wormhole-harnessing species being taken out of commission because we destroyed their leader. We kill the Alpha Ceph, and all the other units immediately die. This is a blatantly fatal weakness to have, and I know you could argue that the Ceph just figured they were so strong that no one would be able to take advantage of that, but again, near godlike aliens who have taken over everything in their own galaxy and can travel through wormholes. And humans were just the only ones special enough to do it. Interesting. Also, their ability to absorb energy is correctly pointed out as a danger when Cell tries to kill the Alpha with Archangel. It would just eat the energy and cause catastrophic damage to the planet. We've seen this before already when they dropped a nuke on Lingshan, and it just made the Ceph exponentially more dangerous. So why, on God's green bollocks, is Archangel effective against the M33 Ceph coming through the wormhole? Why did that work? Is there a threshold where the energy becomes too much? That warship was supposed to be so much more advanced than anything else we've faced, and it didn't have impervious armor plating or energy shields. Are you fucking kidding me? To start with, I would blend the back and forth personality issues brought up in the book Crysis Escalation into the existentialism of Crysis 3. Alcatraz and Prophet are both vying for control, with Prophet driven by duty and loyalty, and Alcatraz driven by revenge and a desire for freedom. This would be reflected in gameplay, where Alcatraz prefers head-on direct action with a focus on strength, armor, and guns blazing, whereas Prophet prefers a measured tactical approach favoring stealth, speed, and silent weapons. You'd hear them speak when you use different suit abilities that appeal to their preferences, sometimes talking at each other in the vein of "let me show you how it's done, there's a better way to do this," etc. There'd be a lot of focus on them gradually coming to terms with their situation and recognizing that if they want to see this war to the end, they need to act in unison rather than pulling against each other. When referred to as a singular unit, their call sign is Theseus, and towards the end of the game they address each other with their real names rather than call signs, Rodriguez and Barnes. We would start off by working with Rashk, Psycho, and other nanosuit users to hunt down other Ceph locations, with the US government coming down hard on Crynet and bringing it to heel. This resulted in the company hemorrhaging many of its executives, but a few would have stayed on to reinvent the company's image as a patriotic research and development sphere in order to avoid prison. They are kept a very close eye on by Tara Strickland. The other executives fled the country with as much of their money and stolen alien tech as they could, and brought their loyalists to central Siberia, specifically in the city of Novosibirsk. Russia, naturally, was all too eager to accept them if it means gaining a technological edge against the USA. This new company would be known as Red Star Industries. We focus on dealing with the Ceph first, and instead of a hive mind where it's just a matter of killing the Alpha to take out the rest, the Ceph work as a colony where if the Queen is lost, the strongest among those left goes through metamorphosis to become the new Queen. This is compared to male clownfish changing their sex in the event the head female dies. And these are jelly squid aliens from another galaxy entirely, so this should be the least objectionable thing they're able to do. After clearing out a location in the Australian outback, we would stumble upon a lead that points to Nomad still being alive, which Psycho and Prophet are eager to follow, even if Alcatraz argues that they need to focus on the Ceph rather than chasing ghosts. He is ignored and the team heads off to follow that lead, eventually finding Nomad held deep inside an offshore platform in the Leptov Sea. The place is run by Red Star, and upon reaching Nomad, they're attacked by an enemy nanosuit user called Silverback and other Ceph-enhanced soldiers. This is in fact Commander Lockhart from the previous game, as when he's thrown out of the window, he's shown to still be alive on the ground, but severely injured. Yes, the player could shoot him, but let's pretend Alcatraz left him to suffer and die and moved on. Surviving Cell soldiers at the time picked him up and extracted him from the area, and afterward he ended up with Red Star. While he was staunchly against anyone ever using nanosuits, his hatred of Prophet and his need for revenge pushed him past his limits. They escape with Nomad, and with the knowledge that Red Star is modifying their soldiers with nanites integrated directly into their bodies, which has the horrifying result of allowing remote control by Red Star operators, forcing their soldiers to fight if they show any signs of weakness or retreat. Rescuing Nomad would lead us to Helena Rosenthal, who was successfully revived by the CIA for interrogation after Prophet and Psycho escaped Lingshan and Nomad was thought dead. If the already heavily injured Nomad can survive tanking a rocket to the chest, the CIA can use advanced medical bullshit to keep Helena alive for information. I resent their fates being decided in a comic. Nomad explains that after Prophet and Psycho escaped back on Lingshan, he woke up in a Crynet facility getting pumped full of Ceph tech. They experimented on him, trying to see how much it would take before the line between human and alien began to blur. They wanted to communicate with the Ceph. After the shitshow in New York, Nomad ended up being one of the many assets moved to Russia, where Red Star continued contaminating his body. This is a point of conversation between Nomad and Theseus, as thanks to all the catalyst consumed in close contact with Ceph technology they had in New York, they're also more Ceph than human now. This is also a point of concern for Psycho, who promises to keep a close eye on them for any wonky behavior. Nomad is eager to get some payback, but first they have to find Helena. Helena, naturally, is being held in his CIA black site in Argentina, which we spend a level liberating her from, learning along the way about the different stages of Ceph colonization. We rendezvous with Rashk, leading to a conversation between him and Helena where we learn what Red Star is up to. All their experiments with Ceph material has gone to their heads. The Red Star board of directors think they can come out on top if they open the way for the Ceph and get to rule over the rest of humanity as planetary governors in their stead. And where do they intend to do this? Lingshan. Red Star made deals with the Chinese government to give them access to the island, as after the events of the first game, with the US fighting North Korea openly over an island in the Philippines, China stepped in, called America's bluff, and America withdrew to avoid a full-scale conflict. So, we return to where it all began and find Lingshan greatly transformed by the events of the first game, and over the course of several levels the team fights through Red Star forces, Chinese soldiers, and eventually Ceph. They are also hounded by Silverback at regular intervals, where it becomes increasingly obvious that he has also had the Ceph-infused Kool-Aid. It does come to light that the Chinese forces stationed here are unaware of Red Star's true intentions, eventually leading to a temporary alliance between them and Raptor Team. Red Star plans to open a wormhole to the M33 megacolony by using the ship still embedded in Lingshan's mountains. How they do this and how we stop it is worked out by Rashk and Helena, who play a vital role in figuring out the science and giving us direction. From here we'd fight deep within the ship to stop them from opening the wormhole and eventually succeed in doing so, but not before a fatally injured Silverback ominously remarks that the megacolony sees us, we will be found, and we will be put in our place. Theseus would then level a gun at his head, cutting to black with a gunshot and a final line as Prophet and Alcatraz speak together, and we'll be ready for them. Would this be perfect? Fuck no! And neither would it make everyone happy. Nothing Crysis 3 could have done would make fans of Crysis 1 and 2 happy at the same time. Going back to the way Crysis 1 worked would alienate the fans of 2 and add to the production time, and they would further alienate fans of Crysis 1 by just ignoring what they didn't like in Crysis 2. The game was already hamstrung by deciding to change things up in Crysis 2, and I really enjoyed that one. But it seems that people who enjoyed both games are outliers, and I found it frustrating when Crysis 3 attempted to be both at the same time because it just did not work for me most of the time. And on that note, we are done with our recap of Crysis 3. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you have a game you'd like to inflict on me. Special shoutouts to my supporters on Patreon, who are all very handsome people, and if you'd also like to be called a very handsome people, check out the link in the description. Patrons of all tiers get access to uncensored videos in the event YouTube doesn't like the content I'm covering, and patrons of the affectionate nerd tier get to see behind-the-scenes content and intros for upcoming videos. If you're interested in consuming some of my ADHD adult nonsense unfiltered by editing, I also stream on Twitch every Wednesday and Friday at 8 PM British summertime. Thank you for watching, remember to take your medication, drink your water, treat yourselves kindly, and I will see you all next time.